Might help if I turn my mic on. Welcome to episode 3 with a 6 in front of it. 63. I'm dialing home, or not even. Man, you know, one of these days, or one of these times when you wish you could start over and do your show all over again, but it's live. Welcome to episode 63 of Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you tuned in for the Cliff Simon tribute, thank you so much for that. It's time now to, as Cliff would say, you know, show must go on. And that was definitely one of the things that he believed in. So we're going to do the same here. So I'd like to bring in Peter Kelamis in just a couple of minutes here. Brody from Stargate Universe, one of my favorites. So before we do that, I would invite you to share this show. If you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal if you click the like button. It really makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm. It will definitely help the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. Giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops. And you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. This is key if you plan on watching live. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on gateworld.net's YouTube channel. So for this episode, I am going to be inviting you to go to youtube.com/dialthegate to submit questions to Peter live. And then I will go ahead and get those over to him. And as I've got someone pinging me here, so I've got to stop that. And then before we bring those questions in, I'll have a conversation with Peter here as well. So without further ado, Mr. Peter Kelamis, Brody of Stargate Universe, thank you so much for joining us on Dial the Gate, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How are you doing? How are things going?
I am good. I am good. I mean, obviously, we're all kind of reeling from the news regarding Cliff, which goes without saying. Mm-hmm. We're all kind of processing that in our own way. But I think rarely would you and will you ever meet a person who enjoyed life any more than that guy.
Absolutely.
He was the type of guy that I never worked with him on screen ever. We were on different incarnations of Stargate, and so I never worked with him directly, but I did conventions with him. And what a guy! What an incredibly warm and wonderful human being, and he will be sorely missed.
Well, I appreciate you still going ahead and joining us. Part of me was thinking, you know, well, maybe I should reschedule with Peter, you know. And then I remembered you with Gary Jones at GateCon and just laughing my guts out with the two of you on stage doing, I think it was cabaret night. And I remember just it was so much fun. And Gary Jones, you know, I was like, he's met his match, you know, and I didn't think that was possible. And you absolutely just about stole it from him. So I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and have Peter on after this so that we can have some laughs. So Peter, bark like a seal, bark like a seal.
And you mentioned Gary. I mean, I did improv with Gary back in the old days at the now defunct Punchlines Comedy Club. So we were part of the same improv group that used to work there. So it was kind of, you know, dusting off the rust for me. I know Gary still does much more improv than I do, so I was intimidated. But thanks for the kind evaluation.
Well, it certainly did not look like it. So absolutely. Are you a science fiction fan?
I'm a huge science fiction fan, and to the point where anytime, you know, we have a 12-year-old daughter, so you know. Getting in charge of the TV can be a challenge sometimes, you know. What are we going to watch? What she wants to watch. That's what's going to happen. That's what's happening. But once everybody kind of goes to bed and, you know, you get the Netflix to yourself and all that, it's straight to the sci-fi for me. It always has been. Last night, I mean, I rewatched. It said, you know, continue watching Blade Runner. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The new one or the old one?
The original.
Yes.
Why have I
Absolutely.
lost?
And all
You,
6 versions
you
of it.
me, correct? Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're all good.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yes, the original one. The original one.
It's one of the greatest movies that are out there, and I didn't see it until like the last like 7 or 8 years ago. I was like, man, did I miss something while I was growing up? So trippy.
So trippy. And the cinematography is just, you could tell, I mean, even just like sometimes a single shot, you look at it and the detail is that somebody worked on that for weeks. Just everything was just, it was incredible. It's incredible.
Isn't it creepy how much science fiction that came out in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s has now become science fact?
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a few articles about the Star Trek connection to everything from camcorders, which are now iPads or phones, communicators, all that sort of thing.
Exactly right. Right here.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, scanners that are handheld that can find, you know, a piece of metal in your body or something more substantial than that. But it's incredible. It's incredible. I don't know. I guess it's the old, does the horse lead the cart kind of thing, I think, in a way where people think, hey, wouldn't it be great to have that? Oh, okay, well, let's work on that.
I think it really does contribute to human ingenuity, where we can will something into solid reality because someone else has paved the way of, wouldn't it be nice to do this? There are a lot of different approaches to anything. We just have to put things together in the right sequence, with the right stuff, and we make it happen. It's a little scary.
It's kind of funny too when you think of certain shows like Mad Men and the very, very early episodes. He's like, well, hey, is this the only copy of this? Well, yeah, unless you got some kind of machine that can make another copy. Some sort of space age machine. What are you not? There's references to that all over the place, but a lot of times you look back and they're hilarious.
Absolutely. How old were you when you discovered that acting was going to be your life? When did you realize that you had the bug? Very
early. I used to get in a lot of trouble at school because I used to watch the Carol Burnett show. Was my big thing. And my favorite part was at the end when they would ask her questions and then she would kind of answer off the cuff. But watching people like Harvey Korman and specifically Tim Conway do their thing was just magic to me. I mean, instantly it's like, oh my God, that's what I want to do if I can pull it off somehow. And I remember this one quote. It was my 1977. So I was like 10 or 11 years old. And we went to a friend's birthday, and God bless his mother. She put up with all these screaming boys, and she took us out for dinner, and then she took us to Star Wars.
Oh,
the most magical night of my life. We came out of there. Being an adult and watching Star Wars at that age was a mind blower, but you can imagine being 10 years old and watching it. And I remember thinking at the time, because all my friends were like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to be, Luke Skywalker? And I actually remember saying, I go, no, it would be even cooler to be Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker.
Right.
That would be even better than that, if there's such a thing.
Wow. And when did you, were you in high school plays, college? Where did you start doing, when did you start getting your feet wet?
I can be very funny around groups, especially friends or house parties. When I kind of loosen up, I'm a lot of fun. But yes, I'm actually I'm quite shy heading into new situations and new people. Even doing stand-up, I mean, there's a lot of time. I would be more comfortable in a room full of 300 strangers than meeting a new person for the first time often.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know what kind of insecurity that says. I don't really know. I enjoy entertaining people. I enjoy making them laugh. When they laugh, maybe it's just the endorphin rush of me thinking I've accomplished something. I don't know where the mentality of it is, but I just enjoy it so much, or I enjoy people telling really good stories and recounting interesting characters they may run across in their daily life. That I love that stuff. I always have.
There is something about connecting with a large group of people that is utterly infectious. And you're right, it is a high. There is a dopamine release when that happens, when you truly connect with a group of people. And other times, I mean, you've done, stand up. It's like, oh, that was a bomb. Moving on.
Yeah, there's some shows where you come out of there and you're like, what the hell happened? And it's sometimes the same material you did on the early show the same night.
Isn't that weird?
And it killed.
It's
and then
the room.
People on the late show hated you. And hopefully as you get more experience, you figure out how to correct those issues. But they still have.
Peter, who are your heroes personally in your life? Those people who motivated you, who you looked up to, and professionally, who helped you in your journey, whether you knew them or not.
Mm. It's funny. It's a weird question because you got to almost figure out where the parameters are for something like that.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people say, well, heroes, MLK, if we want to talk about a hero. But yeah, I mean, like,
exactly.
More narrowly.
Growing up for me, it was watching these entertainers. And when I remember when I first saw the first Peter Sellers movie, I was like, oh my, this guy's a god. Mm. Not a commitment to character. He completely transformed into a completely different person before your eyes. And you never for a second doubted that wasn't a complete being unto itself, that is not related to the actor. So people, for me, it was people who could perform and entertain and things like that. I mean, if you go to other level, I mean, there's the JFKs and things like that when I started getting into high school and learning about different pieces of history and things like that. But for me, growing up, it was the entertainers. The entertainers were the biggest icons for me.
They are the ones who lead the charge in transforming so much of culture, and adjusting us as we go along and seeing tapping into what's acceptable and what's not, and getting us to adopt new ideas and new thoughts, for better or for worse. It's right. It's a powerful thing, and it's one of those situations where it's like, when you get to be placed in an important franchise like Stargate, which has had such a positive effect on people's lives over the years. It's just chicken soup. So much of it is just pure satisfaction. It's got to be like, okay, here we go. It's now my turn, and let's make it good. Yeah,
and when you say that, I didn't maybe fully realize that until I started getting to conventions.
Really?
Oftentimes, I mean, there were fans that were really emotional when they would meet you, but oftentimes members of the military would come up to your table many times in uniform and thank you. You could see it in their eyes. It was really a really heartfelt thank you. Like one individual said, he was hurt during active duty, and while he was recovering, he would watch the show, and it kind of helped. Not just helped him, he goes, that's what got me through. And you're like, wow, that's, I'm a paid individual. I'm an actor and I love what I do. And I love this particular show, more than anything else. But
you're working
for it. Yeah. But for it to have that kind of an effect on somebody really meant something special.
Was that something that you guys were aware of while you were filming the third incarnation of this thing? Subconsciously, or obviously you're not talking about it on set. You're doing the work, but how visceral was that when you were in the midst of the work?
We knew, based on the other shows, because the other shows at that time had been on 17 years, maybe.
It's been a while.
Maybe about 15 years, 10 and 5.
Yeah, so it was 2009 that you guys came out, and SG1 came on in 97. So yeah, 12.
So I think I'm fairly close to that. To that number. So we knew how much the military was even involved in the filming. I remember, was it Continuum when the submarine came up through the ice? And I remember, I think it was at GateCon. Was it GateCon when? And I'm trying to remember, was it Brad Wright that was describing when they coordinated with the military as to how that was going to happen? And it's basically, oh, we're going to send a laser from space to the ice. And then the submarine is down there somewhere and it's going to shoot up. And just kind of set up your cameras. And if we get it right, then it'll come up here. And you're like, God, it's unbelievable.
If you feel a rumble, run.
So, I mean, we knew that the military really appreciated the show. And I think they were treated very respectfully within the franchise. And that's probably why it's such a good association between the two.
Your first appearance in Stargate SG-1 is in Smoke and Mirrors as Dr. Brent Langham.
Yeah.
And there is a great scene between you and Christopher Judge.
Yes.
It's just a pure intimidation and tactics scene. And there's humor there, there still is humor there, even though the guy absolutely comes off as scared S-less. Tell us about getting cast originally.
Getting cast was here's the story. I auditioned for Stargate so many times to the point where I never got hired. And I literally told my agent, he called up and he said, you have another audition for Stargate. I was like, what? Why? Let's just say no, because I'm not what they're looking for. I don't know what they're looking for, but I'm not getting it, or something's not working. Mm-hmm. Let's save everybody a whole lot of time here, including them. And instead of me going in and not getting the gig, how about I save some of their time, not go in and not get the gig? How about we do that? And everybody saves, an afternoon. And he was like, no, go in. And I went in, and it was Peter DeLuise was directing the episode, who I absolutely love. And I kind of quickly developed a Peter DeLuise impression that I would crack up. And I did it in front of him all the time. So it wasn't like, but because DeLuise would come at you with direction, it was like stilted little words here and there. And then you didn't quite understand. And then he'd yell action before you had time to figure it out. Right. So like, okay, a scene where you're going to come in, you're going to look out the window and you see something out there that's coming at the ship, and then you run for help. And then he would come in and go, okay, so you come in, you see the thing, you look at what I do, and then you go into action. What the hell am I doing? Somehow it all works. You learn how to understand DeLuisian. And
that's great.
Then it's cake. It's cake from there. It's a cakewalk from there. So I went in, and God bless him, he was directing that episode, and I had auditioned, like I said, so many times. I think I auditioned for Andy Makita and all these great directors that I eventually ended up being lucky enough to work with. But so Peter cast me, and I finally got in. And there's a scene, like you say, with Chris Judge, and I've been captured. I was manipulating these mimic devices, and I got caught. So I'm in an interrogation room, and it's really dark, and it's intimidating. And then DeLuise comes in, right? And says, okay, so this guy is coming in. He's very large. You don't know what's going to happen. Go. And then we do it. I don't even think Tilk has a line. I got to rewatch it. I don't think he says anything. It's just,
that's the point, yeah.
Intimidated. He's answering questions like a Muppet because he just, okay, I did it, and then I did this, and all he does is, I don't think he says anything. So we did it a few times, and DeLuise is trying to get the inner emotion up for me. Like, I'm already scared, but he really wanted to peak it. So on the final take, he comes up to me and he goes, okay, this guy's here. He locks the door. It's just you and him. And there's a big possibility he could rape you. Action. And that's the take they used. Chris Judge just hovering over you. And it's like, all right, just it's over with.
The things that directors do to get a performance. Hearing some interesting stories over the years, and that absolutely does not surprise me from Peter DeLuise. He is a force of nature, and you just get out of his way and do what you can to help him.
Yeah.
Crazy guy. Jeez, that sounds about right. Did you get a sense of the workings of that group of people that would carry into SGU at that point?
I think yes and no. I mean, SGU, it felt like Stargate, but it was clearly a different Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
In tone, in look and feel, camera movement, everything. The gate was there, so you had an instant familiarity with the show, but it was a very different beast. And there was a couple of times where very prominent cast members from the previous series guest starred on SGU, and sometimes it looked a little stilted because like RDA was on, and he was like his jovial self, cracking the jokes and stuff like that. And I remember a scene where he cracked a joke, and then Louis Ferrer's, Lieutenant Young, or Captain Young,
Colonel Young, keep going up.
Yeah, Louis Ferrer.
You're right.
And I remember Louis' face just like. So it was just this. You could tell RDA was used to the jokes being, lobbed over and received, and this time it was like, listen, I'm not even really here. I'm on a communication stone. You're seeing my consciousness.
Your avatar, yeah.
Home, so can we cut the shit? So it was a mix of things, but it was always really cool when somebody from the previous series made an appearance. We loved it.
What? Before we get to SGU, you were in another Stargate SG-1 episode the following season.
Yeah.
And unless you were listening for your voice, it would be easy to miss you under all that makeup.
Right.
You were a Hebridean character by the name of Coil Boron, who was a race announcer for the Loop of Congarat.
I would have looked that up too. I mean, I knew who the character was, but all that other stuff, you got it.
The Loop of Congarat, yes, was a Hebridean race, and you were one of the race announcers, and you must have listed 7 or 8 different fictitious products and sponsors.
Right.
What was it like under all that makeup and those, I think, contact lenses, if I'm not mistaken? What was it like putting all of that on and making that show happen? Very different type of Stargate episode.
Yeah. You know what? Under the best circumstances, getting under all that stuff and having contacts and all that is very, very confining, and you can kind of get claustrophobic and all those things. To make things worse, literally the night before, a friend of mine asked me to join their no contact softball league because they were short players. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, I got to work in the morning, but it's just, it's a 6 p.m. game. And it's, how bad can it be? So I go, and it turns out that this woman decided it was going to be contact without letting anybody else know. So I'm shortstop, the ball's coming to me, and she comes at me shoulder first and breaks my nose over to the other side of my face.
No.
Literally smashed. So off I go to emergency. And this is literally what happens. The doctor's like, oh, okay. Because my wife shows up there, right? Because I call her. And she's like, I'm in the waiting room. And I'm like, oh, you think it's broken? And it's way over here. The nose is over here. And she's like, yeah, that's broken. Well, maybe it's just moved up. No, broken. The doctor comes in, he goes, okay, well, we're going to have to push that back in. He goes, I'm just going to give you a little bit of this. And he literally says, this is a quote, he goes, well, you're an actor, you're probably used to this, just going to give you a little cocaine. And I'm like, what? So it's like cocaine, literally cocaine on a matchstick, and they swab it around in there because they're about to put his lower heel from his shoe on your face to move it back over. So he gives me the coke, and that starts kicking in, and I'm like getting all excited. And, hey, wow, feeling good. Right. And I'm running around the emergency room, ripping over curtains from other people. Like, I don't even know who they are. Hey, they're giving coke over here. I don't know if you guys are in pain. They're handing it out for free. I know the guy. And then I open up a curtain, and there's another actor, Michael Benyer, who's there passing a stone.
Oh, God.
But out of nowhere, there he is, bloated out to here. And there's Kelamis high on coke, opening up hey, Michael Benyer, I got coke over here. Literally, that's what's happening. So he comes back, they push the nose over, and they have to put a metal brace over my nose. And then I get home, and it's near like 11 o'clock right now. And I'm trying to call producers of the show to let them know that my face has been beaten. and I'm trying to make these calls with the Coke in my head. And I got hold of some people. I don't even know what I said. I don't even know what I said. To this day, like, what the hell were you talking about when you called me? I called you? So I show up on set, and God bless the producers. They all came in one at a time in the makeup chair, and I still had this full metal brace on there. And I think it was John N. Smith, who was a producer, but nobody ever saw him. He was like the snuffleupagus of the series.
That's right.
You knew him by name. Nobody had ever seen him. But I guess he heard that Kelamis busted his schnoz, and out he came out of hiding. Comes down, he looks at me and goes, oh, wow, yo, yeah. He goes, yeah, when I was younger, I broke my nose. Hey, look at this, look at the movement on there. So he turns to the special effects makeup person and says, have we ever seen this species of alien before? And they're like, no, this is the first time. And they go, okay, well, they're going to have a big nose. So they constructed the entire makeup over the metal brace.
Wow. So you were wearing it.
Yeah, I was still wearing it. I had to do all my scenes. There was no time to get anybody else. I think from a realistic point, that would have been a better plan, but they had no time. This was late at night. We're filming in the morning.
I know, man.
So off we went, and being in all that makeup, we kind of did all our scenes in a row, and we had multiple scenes and multiple little snippets. And I was working with Colin Murdoch, who's another Vancouver actor who's fantastic and very, very funny. So it was good being with somebody that I knew. And we got through it. But if you go back and watch that episode, the nose is extra.
The nose is much larger. I'll be darned. Look at that.
Yeah. There's a full broken nose brace under.
Yeah, it's interesting because the race was introduced in season 6, but the human Hebridean hybrids had never been seen before.
Right.
So that was like that's a real, because you actually have hair there underneath there.
Yeah.
And you're all up in Cokeland. So yeah. or coming down from it.
Coming down from it.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. What going under all that prosthetics is hard enough, and dealing with just things happen, in your personal life. And that was so cool. I've heard story after story where, the Stargate production team said, okay, so this is how it's going to be. So we'll just make things work. The show must go on.
Yeah, show must go on. And they were all very, very nice about it. They kept checking, you okay? You need a break? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Jeez, man. Tell us about auditioning for Adam Brody and the journey that was going to be Destiny.
Yeah, it was late in December, and my agent called and said, they're doing a new Stargate series. I'm like, oh, okay. So there's a role that came up, and they want you to go and interview for it. So I went in, read for it, and that was it. Went home. Christmas happens, New Year's Eve, all that. You kind of forget about it. It's the end of the year. Rarely do you audition that late in the year. They usually shut things down like mid-December kind of thing. And the agent called. It was around January 4th or something. It was very early in the year. And she says, oh, they want to see you again for the Stargate show. And I'm like, which one?
Right.
She goes, the Stargate, remember? I don't. The scientist. Oh, yeah. So I go in, and Andy Makita was there, and I did the scene, and he's like, that was great. Thank you for coming in. That's it. And halfway home, I got the call, and they go, yeah, you got it. I'm like, great. And then it goes to, okay, well, how many days work is it? Because we didn't know. We didn't know. And as the show went on, I nicknamed it Survivor in Space, because we didn't know who was going to die off, and which character was going to commit suicide or fly through an airlock, or we didn't
be turned into a data stream in the Destiny computer.
We literally, it sounds funny, but it's true. We used to, when they handed out new scripts for the next episode, sometimes they'd come off the press still hot from the photocopier, and they'd start handing them out, and we would grab them, especially like me, Patrick, more Jen Spence, the scientist crew.
The trio.
We would go to like the last page and start going backwards to see if we were still alive at the end. you'd see your name on page like 118. You're like, yes,
I made it, baby.
I made it. You know, and that's what we would do. And then, and even at the very last episode of the first season, I remember looking at Gilmore and we were trying to analyze if we're coming back or if we died. And he was like stuck on the ship. And then I ran off with Rush at the very end. So I was like, well, I don't know what's going to happen to you, but I'm with Rush, so I'm probably okay. This is literally how we would analyze our existence as actors on the show. But it was such a good time. I mean, as dark and as serious as the tone of the show was, completely opposite as far as the acting behind the scenes. And when we had scenes together, like especially in the mess hall, we'd get in so much trouble because the jokes, we couldn't stop and just laughing. And Ming Na's laugh, you could hear across the ship. Like, loudest, most... If I've never heard a person enjoy laughing more than Ming. And God bless her, it's a wonderful sound. If you ever get to hear it at that level, oh, it's great.
Bobby Carlyle, what was it like working with that magician?
Loved it. I was already a fan, and you know, going in there was a number of actors that I obviously was familiar with based on their work, like Lou Diamond Phillips and Louis Ferreira, and obviously Bobby Carlyle. And he's just such a great, straightforward kind of guy. I mean, he's just meticulous with the work. I don't think I ever saw him screw up a line once. He was always just so, not just prepared, but just so good in every little scene. I remember this one time he was in a kind of a dream state in the chair, and they had the electrodes stuck to him. And I was describing what we were going to try to do to pull him out, or the risks of disconnecting him, if I remember correctly. And I'm doing the scenes to the other actor, and I would, you know, do the scene, and I would look back at Carlyle in the chair, who had no lines. He's in a coma. And I saw him do this, like just, so he's having a conversation while he's under, moving his lips. That's something that I don't think 99% of actors doing that shot would think, oh, well, in his mind, he's somewhere else. He's having a conversation and his mouth is moving, which is like, it was such a little thing, but I remember being right there going, damn, look at this guy. Like,
he's still acting. Yeah.
He's still acting, being a corpse on a chair.
For all intents and purposes. Yeah.
That's good. Wow.
Elena Huffman had said when she first met him that he was very quiet and like had almost like a mumbling reach with his voice. And that with the Scottish accent, she was like, oh my God, we're screwed. No one's going to understand this guy. And then the cameras rolled and his presence was right there, you know, and it just came out and just like, oh, I get it now. Okay. Yeah. You know, it's just a transformation.
He actually toned the Scottish down a little bit for
American audiences.
Yes. And the only reason I know that, well, working with him every day, but I mean, knowing that one time he had one of his best friends visit from Scotland, and we were outside of the trailers. And then, you know, like when old buddies get together, like old drinking, right away, it's like, oh, that's my mate here from Scotland. Hey, Chris, how you doing? It's like, oh, just came to visit Bobby. And then it's like, oh, just, we tried to each other. We didn't understand a word, but
that's great. Jeez, man. Yeah, no, it's a wonderful cast of characters that you guys had, and you know, it's man, so many more stories were supposed to be told, but I loved the shorthand between you and Jen Spence and Patrick Gilmore. You know, the repartee back and forth, ping-ponging between all three of you. And then, you know, you've got David Blue on one side and you've got Carlyle on the other, and then all the military officers all around. It was a treat to get to see all of these parts moving in different, unexpected ways. The dialogue was just brilliant.
Thank you. And I started doing, I'm sorry, my dog's running around here.
No, it's all good. We love dogs.
They didn't know that I did stand-up. I mean, I started doing stand-up when I was 18 years old, but they had no clue, the producers, that I did that. And I remember being in the lunch lineup one day and with Patrick Gilmore, and then Joe Malozzi was in front of us. And I don't know how it even came up in the conversation. He said, well, no, when's your next show? And Malozzi turned around and he's like, what show? What are you talking about? He goes, well, he does a stand-up comic. And he's like, what? And after that day, it's almost like I had a bit of a license to kind of screw around a little more. That whole episode when Volker was getting the kidney transplant and all
yes, I was about to bring it up with the batteries.
With the batteries and all that, I just did that in rehearsal. That's not in the script. I just did the rehearsal with the batteries. The cast was trying to hold it together, but all I could hear were the producers over there cracking up. And then they yelled cut, and they came running over and said, do that again.
that thing that you did, one more.
Because it was literally, I thought they were going to go, okay, you got to cool it with the extra. But they let me do it.
That's great. Yeah. Did you have any recommendations on the song, or was that in post?
No, you know what? They ended up using that, but originally they were gonna use. What were they gonna use?
Oslo Sprach Zarathustra. I'm sure that was a part of it because that was a part of the episode. But the song that comes on instead.
Right. No, yes, you're right. That is what they were gonna do. That is what they were gonna do, and then the yada yada he, which I think worked out better because of the ridiculousness of this.
Right. Jeez.
And I remember I knew I was milking it too much when I think I doing the batteries, and I'm trying to get them out and looking over, and I think it was Elena Huffman when I looked over, and I'm doing it for so long she actually had to take another breath. That's how long I would take. And then she I'm just waiting for him to yell cut.
Elena, I say it every once in a while. I would have loved to see her take command of the ship more often. She had a presence about her. She could have run that ship.
She was a badass character. So just great.
Yeah.
Just great.
Absolutely. I wanted to know what it was like to wear this bad boy.
I was admiring all your stuff earlier on, and wow.
Thank you. I'm not sure if that's the one or not, because there were 3 of them, but
I don't know. But I was one of the earlier, not the earliest, earlier people to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the scene of me and Riley when he gets blown up.
Exactly.
In the corridor there. And so we wore those, and you need like 3 people to put them on. You just kind of
crazy.
Just mannequin yourself, and then it's like a human version of Iron Man. You just go like this, and you can clink, 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 clink. Put you together. And then the last thing is here, put this mask on. So when we put the mask on, and it was so hot, it was really cooking, and to the point where the second they yelled cut, they had to rip them off, and we had little fans and stuff.
Give you guys a break.
After that, because I think me and Riley were complaining about it and being whiny about it.
Haig Sutherland.
Yeah, who's great, just so much fun. They installed these mechanical little fans in the back part there with battery packs, and then so people, so we took the hit for everybody initially, and then everybody else got the.
Like we're not doing that. They can. Yes. You're gonna have to put those in if you want us to put them on. Crazy stuff.
We suffered for everybody.
Jeez. I have fan questions coming in, and I do want to get to them. I want to start bringing them in, and I'll come back around to ask some more of mine here. So I loved Brody's liquor stand.
I loved it.
It was terrific. The parts of all these props were gorgeous. The steampunk style stuff. I loved that telescope too in that observation deck. Have you ever distilled liquor in real life? And if so, did it turn out better than on Destiny?
Years ago, I went to one of these make your own wine shop things. And I I don't know. I think it was Chardonnay de piss, because that's what it tastes like. Horrible. Don't ever go to those things. It's Kool-Aid.
That was the name of it?
No, I just made that up.
Okay.
That's what it should have been called after I tasted it. Don't ever go to those things. You know, buy, if you want an inexpensive bottle of wine, go buy one. It's like Kool-Aid crystals in wine bottle. It's horrible. So I've never done it beyond that. No.
Jeremy Heiner. Oh, by the way, it's a font. Right?
I love hearing it.
Great moment. Did you have any input into the script there, into naming the country Futura?
No,
that was something you just received.
Yeah, that was fully scripted. Again, going back to DeLuise, oftentimes he would look for the little things. There was a quick scene once where I was on one of the consoles and somebody said something to me, and as they're walking away, we're talking about Einstein. And then he started coming up with these facts. So he just let the camera roll and goes, yeah, just do a whole bunch of lines in a row. And he gave me some things, and I'm like, yeah, just kind of like Einstein. He never wore socks. He never had a driver's license. He only bathed once a week. And I don't know how many we did. And it was one of these, you never know what they're going to use. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you watch the show as it aired?
Yes.
Okay. Did any of you guys have watch parties together?
We did early on. We had a few of them, and after that, it became more difficult because when it was on, a lot of times people were working or getting to set, offset, or whatever, what have you. So it was a little more difficult after that.
When you watch it, are you hoping that certain takes are going to be used, or is it like, oh, they did go ahead and use that one, or okay, I thought I did better over here, or is it the work such a wash of everything that you're just content to sit down and watch it? I give directors, producers, and editors of that show credit because they picked fantastic takes. Like every time, I don't think I ever came out of there saying I wish they used that take, and they didn't, except once. It was towards the end of our beginning of our summer break, and one of the producers comes up and he said, "Oh, listen, I don't know if you heard, you have a shower scene." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "No, like when we come back, we're gonna do a scene of the planet. We show Greer in this kind of beautiful, mega flourished planet of greenery and all, and then we pan back to the ship, and you're like showing the really dungeony kind of conditions in the ship, and then there's you in the shower." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah." So that's it. Ruined my summer. There I am eating the whole summer. No burgers for Kelamis. Nothing. No beer, just nothing. And then I was proud of myself because I probably got in the best shape of my life and whatever the month and a half we had off. And then we'd come back, and I was so nervous because I'm not Brian J. Smith. I don't get a lot of shirts. His shirt was always getting lost.
Oh yeah, he could be, going to a job interview. What about it if you had no shirt? What if we do that?
Right.
So anyways, I got into still nervous. But when you get to set and you do a thing like that too, the poor makeup gal has to come in with a series of banana hammocks, that you got to choose from to cover up your parts.
Right.
And she's like blushing, and you're just like, I don't know. That one, I'll wear that one. Really? The leopard skin? Yeah.
Why not?
Anyway, yeah, so I get the set, and they're all set up for the shot, the thing and all that. And I remember, you come in with a robe like you're Hugh Hefner, with your leopard skin banana hammock on. And then, I walked to the shower and they're, "Okay, let's get ready. And then they pull the robe off, and it's just, my ass is hanging out. And all I hear is Grizz, our camera guy, go, "Screw you, Grizz.
I worked hard on this.
Oh, yeah, you don't know how hard this was to get to." But they were all very gracious about it. And we did the scene. And then when I got back to my trailer, they had this massive plate of like cupcakes and cookies and all this stuff. And they're like, "Get back to it."
Jeez. And I don't remember that scene.
No, this is the best part.
Oh, we're getting to it. Okay.
First lunch, producers come by and they go, "Oh yeah, by the way, that shower scene, we had to cut it." And I was like, "You have no idea how proud I was of my work." So I don't know. Hopefully, there's some deleted scenes thing.
Absolutely, we'll get to see him scrubbing at some point.
Get to see me
with the mist,
scrubbing my buff Greek god body
with the leopard skin.
Yeah.
Jeez, was it really leopard print?
No.
Okay.
In my mind, it was.
The things you wonder about Adam Brody. Jeez. Scotty0709, how many takes did you need for that scene before Volker's surgery and the music changed to the Numa Numa song? There we go. Yeah. How many times did you actually shoot it? Just the once and then the rehearsal?
I think we did the rehearsal, and then I think it wasn't very many. I think I only, because the camera was just kind of on me for that whole segment there. And then they got other people's coverage where I wasn't allowed to drop the batteries, but I had to mime it.
Of course.
I probably did like two or three, maybe two.
That's fair.
Gilmore was laughing the most because he was just supposed to be under almost, and then all he was just.
They're going to start slicing them up.
Yeah, he couldn't hold it together though.
Goran Andanowski. With which actor did you have the best working relationships? Who did you find yourself gravitating with more from just a human to human standpoint?
Probably Patrick Gilmore. We became very, very good friends during the shoot. We're both Vancouver actors, but we had never auditioned before and knew of each other. Nothing before, which was kind of odd because you usually run into relatively the same people in the same city.
It's a small city.
Yeah,
it was not so much anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we became really good friends, and sometimes we'd pick each other up from work, take one car because most of the time our scenes were together, or many times they were. And we really would. It sounds so goofy, but we would literally say like, "This is the best job in the world. We have the best job in the world." We'd be pinching ourselves, going, "We're working on Stargate. We're making good money. We're working with great people. We're having, the best time of our lives. Like, is this it? Because if this is it, it's pretty good." So it was really cool. It was really, really cool.
What, where did the message go? Okay. Jet Ison, are there any aspects that you wish you could have dived into in season 3? What were you looking forward to attacking next? Or were you just taking every script as they came?
You kind of take it as it comes, but I think heading into maybe a season 3 or season 4, maybe, I know they did kind of an origins episode with Greer, and it may have been a neat episode to have maybe an origin story of the scientists. You think that initially maybe that's not as exciting, but
how did they get recruited?
Right? How did you get recruited? How did you get to Icarus? I think that could have been an interesting journey, even as a B storyline on an episode to delve into. And then moving forward, we didn't know. We had rumors of where the show was going to go. Like, we did reach Earth. We didn't know. And that was kind of exciting to look forward to.
Where do you think Destiny was going? Do you think it was heading back to Earth? We were closer than we thought?
Yeah, I do. But I think after spanning the big divide, I think there was a lot to take in once we stopped. Whole new galaxies, whole new universes, whole new aliens, whole new everything. I think there was a lot to delve into, and it was. I think it was getting really creative, and it's a shame we didn't get to tell more of it.
I think I was so invested in that story, and when it got pulled early, it just carved my heart out with a spoon.
Yeah.
Did you know from the get-go that the series had 2 seasons, that Sci-Fi had greenlit it for 2 seasons, or was that something that you found out when, we're getting a season 2 now, we're going to go ahead and do it?
Well, initially I was, again, part of the scientist crew. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a big cast. We had like 9 regulars, and then I think there were 5 recurrings, I guess, if you want to call them that. I mean, I was listed as a guest star every episode. Just kind of the way logistics of casting and stuff go. So we we found out, I remember being there when I think we were finishing episode 10, I think, of season 1. And all the regulars started kind of cheering and high-fiving each other. And we're like, what's going on? They're like, we got to episode 10. And I'm like, yeah, but isn't there 20? And they're like, no, they had up till 10 to decide if they're going to give us 20.
Oh.
We're like, oh, we had no idea. So
interesting.
And then after, I guess, taking it to 20, it gave them the extra season. Or we knew we got renewed after that.
And my understanding was that Sci-Fi had agreed out of the gate to do 2 seasons, but it makes sense that they compartmentalized that information. So it's quite easy. So, no one knew that.
No, so. And then we didn't know beyond season 2. And
right.
There was a lot of weird things going on at the time with, I'm amazed that the Nielsen system still exists in any form.
Me too. It's very archaic.
It's literally a horse and buggy system based on, in a world of electronics and instant downloads and all that. It makes no sense. But we were a victim, I think, of partially of that. The download ratings and the live ratings, the live +7s, all these ways to calculate the show. And I think they realized afterwards there were a lot more people watching the show in the download form than were tuning in initially. And now when you turn on your TV with Netflix and everything else, Disney Plus, Prime, all that stuff, I mean, that's just the way it is now. And I think if the show had been on now, nobody would blink twice. They would just go, well, yeah, we'll do another season or 2 because this is how it's done.
Yeah, well, they were at this point, we're much more open to taking in those other sources as well. Don't get me wrong, the Nielsen's are still extremely important, archaically so, but at the same time, we've really, I think SGU was developed at a point when a lot of this stuff was crossing over into much more mainstream. You guys did a serialized story much earlier, before that was regularly adopted, and the tone of the show was a lot earlier, than what ultimately came later with a lot of other television. People were like, this is awfully dark. And you guys were trailblazers.
Yeah, I think, well, I say we. I mean, I didn't write or create the show, but the creators really had a great vision. I loved it. I thought it looked amazing. But back to the ratings before I forget, people forget that traditionally Stargate was on in the summer. Mm-hmm. So those ratings, you were up against, a movie of the week or something.
Exactly.
We were up against prime time, and prime time, like big shows. And for us to be doing and being pulled in the numbers that we was actually quite good considering the scenario. But people forget about the scenario. They think, oh yeah, well, your ratings were a lot less. We were up against the prime time show, and we were on a cable channel. So only a fraction of people could get the show, and we were still bringing in those numbers. So there's different ways to look at it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to address the elephant in the room here. There was a perception that you had taken from Atlantis. So Atlantis, everyone was, all the Atlantis fans were certainly expecting a season 6, and instead they got a new show with a completely new dynamic, a completely new texture, and it was something that a lot of people had difficulty adjusting to.
I agree, and the producers even said to us, to our faces, they said it was a mistake to essentially say, we're going to cancel this show, but here's the new show, basically almost in the same breath. Fans needed a chance to digest that and the understand.
Timing, especially, yeah.
They agree that was maybe not the best way to do it, and in retrospect, it probably wasn't. And it didn't help. I don't want to sound like I'm bitching about other people, but there were some pretty substantial and well-known and primary cast members of specifically Atlantis that came out and really kind of kicked us in the teeth out of the gate. And I understand they were angry that their show was over with. I understand that. I've been an actor. I've been on canceled shows before. It sucks. But to attack us about it and almost when fans are already upset and
when you're throwing gasoline,
cast members start putting gasoline on that fire, it didn't help us. And we knew about it. We heard about it, and we were upset by it. and specific. I mean, there's very specific people that did that, and I'm not going to mention who they are. You probably figure it out. But, you know, we got hired to do a show, and we were proud of the show. And we all worked really, really hard at it, and as did the cast, the rest of the cast, crew, everybody, producers. We all worked really hard.
We had James Robbins. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. And looking back at it, I'm very proud of what we did, and I think it holds up over time. And I hope they keep teasing us with some sort of new incarnation, and whether that's going to reference back and complete our story, who knows what it's going to be. It may not have to do with us at all. It just be a whole new thing. But fans deserve, I'll say it, 3 words: fans deserve Stargate. They've gone far too long without it. And come on, guys, MGM, get it together. The fan base is there. What are you waiting for?
SG4, man. Brad's wanting to make it happen for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. We were talking with James Robbins about a month ago, and man, he went to town on those sets. And Elizabeth Lee wants to know, what was it like working on Destiny? You know, with the lighting and, you know, the green screens and the props. You know, this whole texture was just so cool. It was like being on I got to walk those sets. It was like being on a submarine, an H.G. Wells submarine.
It really was. And it was so realistic that sometimes, you know, they'd call for lunch and everybody would go and they'd say, oh, I forgot something. And I'd go back. And when it was completely empty, it was just...
You were on that ship.
You were on that ship. And you'd always hear a humming of, whether it's the ACs or something. And right. I said to people, I go, if somebody, you know, bonked me over the head and I woke up on that ship, I'd swear to God I was on a spaceship.
Wow.
I wouldn't question it for a second. The detail was unbelievable. Like I remember in season 2 when we got to the bridge, and that was the first time we'd seen the bridge. Like I remember, I think it was Gilmore. He goes, "Have you seen the bridge?" I was like, "No." And you had to go up a ladder that wasn't even finished yet.
Right.
The construction to get there. He goes, "Yeah, you got to go up a ladder," because they didn't want us calling. I mean, ladders and shit get hurt. So,
right.
well, we snuck up anyways, and we're like, "Oh man, this is awesome." We're like kids in a candy store. Like we would get excited about everything on that show, just as much as the fans, if not more. Something new would come up and like, "Man, did you check out the shuttle? We got a shuttle." And then you walk into the shuttle and we're like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And
the shuttle door was shared with the bridge, if I'm not mistaken. You had the shuttle on one side, and then you had the door here, and then the bridge was up here, if I'm not mistaken, on the other side. So because the door had to go down because you were on, well, the top of the friggin' ship. So
that's right. Yeah.
Jeez, what a cool set.
It was amazing.
So Emily Cheatham, if they were to reboot the franchise, would you want to return, or do you think that they should go off in an entirely new direction? If you could have your way,
I would love
just as an audience member.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to return for personal reasons, because I love the show and I love everything about it. New direction. I don't know. I think because there's been 3 franchises of the show, I think some sort of baton needs to be passed to whatever's coming next. I don't know what the answer to that would be. I mean, the selfish me says, okay, wind up the Destiny storyline and
right.
See how the ratings are going there, and if it's going well, you know, you can go down that path, or if not, retire the ship, and you could play it a little fluid. But that's the selfish me, because I'd love to come back. But I think fans, Stargate has been off the air for over 10 years now, and I think people need. I think baton is the best word I can use. You need something to pass from there to here. Mm-hmm. You would at least acknowledge that you fans have been fans for years and years and decades, and we're going to honor that with honoring the past and moving forward.
I think that I would be willing, as long as what happened with the Wraith in Atlantis was acknowledged, and what happened with Destiny's Path was acknowledged. If we could get some of those players back here and there to enhance SG4 in whatever shape that it's going to be, I could accept those.
And again, I mean, we're as human beings, we're all 10 years older.
Yeah,
we
true.
went into the stasis pods, and
They were broken.
Yeah, they were broken with innovation there. So I mean, it's sci-fi. You can explain off some of that, but as actors, we're 10 years older, and
in some cases, many pounds lighter.
Yeah, lighter or maybe a couple pounds heavier.
You're right. I mean, look at David Blue. He's a god now.
Yeah, pumped up now. It's like, what the hell were you doing while we were asleep? You know?
I finally got around to jogging.
Yeah, jogging around.
Oh, sir, it has been such a pleasure to have you on. And I wanted to ask, any more movement in the Dragon Ball universe for you?
No, but
Okay.
but they haven't asked. I mean, I get asked that a lot. If I would do a guest spot of a character. I mean, there was a big thing a few years ago with Goku Blonde when they brought that character back, and whether people thought that I should have possibly done that particular voice, and there's a lot of stuff around that, but I didn't get the opportunity to do that. If they asked in some way, shape, or form, of course I would love that. I love Dragon Ball Z fans. I love going to conventions. I'm off to one in July, back ConventionCon 3. It was canceled due to pandemic, and now it's rescheduled. ConventionCon.com, and you'll see me as well as many other actors from the series.
What's the address again?
ConventionCon.
ConventionCon.com.
It's in Dallas, Texas, and this is the third one coming up. So
that's great, terrific. Anything else we need to be looking out for in the next few months?
Yeah, I just got news like 3 days ago. I landed a movie, and certain gigs you get excited about, and then certain gigs you're like you kind of pinch yourself, kind of excitedness, and that's what this one is for me because of who I get to work with.
Oh, good.
I'm kind of I'm freaking out, but I'm so excited because it's an actor from one of my favorite shows ever that I get to work with, and another actor who is this incredible icon of I want to say Hollywood. That cheapens it. They're an actor of just epic proportions, and they're incredible. And I get to work with both of them. And I'm just dying to say more. I'd love to scream this out right now, but
let's keep your job. So
yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, there's that, and there's also a series that I got to do with the Farrelly brothers called The Now, and it was for Quibi, which since fell apart. But I understand that it's being either bought out or they might be selling the series itself and
picking it up.
And I hope that footage gets out because again, I got to work with a pretty amazing actor as well.
Okay, great. Is it more often than not that the people that you look up to in the industry meet your expectations? I'm sure occasionally they fail to.
Very few times has that happened, but for the most part, everybody's pretty cool. And one thing, I forgot to mention, I've got a bit of a recurring thing going on Riverdale right now.
Okay, Sam Pansky.
Sam Pansky, Jughead's agent, Sam Pansky. Because it was one of the directors that I got to work with a lot on my previous series, Beyond. And I had auditioned, and then he called me afterwards going, "Hey, I just saw your audition for the thing. I'm pushing for you. I hope you get it." And it was like great, and I ended up getting it. And it was great because I got to throw in the New York accent. It's like this time, and I just love going there whenever I can.
Absolutely. I don't think that Brody's days are over with. I have good feelings, and I don't think that we've seen the last of him in physical form.
Well, so. I hope not. It's like I say, I really hope fans get another Stargate because, like I say, they deserve it. They've been patient. They've been unyielding with their loyalty to the franchise. Yeah. Come on, MGM. Fans deserve it.
Absolutely, my friend. I want to really thank you for coming on and lightening this weekend for us. I'm glad that you're feeling better. and that physically everything's working itself out there. You're okay. I might as well say there was an injury, and you're feeling better.
Yes.
Okay.
Nothing life threatening. It was
right.
a little thing, and it's good, and I'm feeling good.
Good. It means a lot that you came on, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show here. Take that dog for a walk.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Be well, sir. Bye-bye now.
You too.
Peter Kelamis. Adam. I always want to say Adrian Brody. He's not Adrian Brody. Adam Brody on Stargate's universe. Thanks so much for joining us. Our sponsor, because we are doing a giveaway, is 3dtech.pro. Dial the Gate has partnered with 3dtech.pro for the month for the month of, what month are we in? March, to give you a chance to win your very own Atlantis, Puddle Jumper, and BC 303. To enter to win these items, you need to use a desktop or laptop computer and visit dialthegate.com. Scroll down to Submit Trivia Questions. Your trivia may be used in a future episode of Dial the Gate, either for our monthly trivia night or for a special guest to ask me in a round of trivia. We need to get back to that. There are 3 slots for trivia, 1 easy, 1 medium, 1 hard. Only 1 needs to be filled in, and you're more than welcome to submit up to 3. Please note the submission form does not currently work for mobile devices. Trivia needs to be in before April the 1st. If you're the lucky winner, I'll be notifying you via your email to get to your address, and be sure to check out our partner's website for more Stargate-related merchandise at 3dtech.pro. And Dial the Gate is brought to you every week for free, and we do appreciate you watching. But if you want to support the show further, buy or sell some of our themed swag. We're now offering t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and hoodies for all ages in a variety of sizes and colors at Redbubble. We currently offer 4 themed designs and hope to add more in the future. Checkout is fast and easy, and you can even use your Amazon or PayPal account. Just visit dialthegate.redbubble.com, and thanks for your support. If you like this episode, click the like button. If you enjoyed the show, click the subscribe button. If you think others will enjoy the show, please share. That's how the show grows. Big thanks again to Peter Kelamis for joining us. And thank you to all who watched this episode and the previous episode where we remembered Cliff Simon. There were a lot of submissions that were sent to me that did not make it on today. I simply did not have enough time to get through all of them. In the coming weeks, I will be sharing more at the end of other shows so that we can definitely be sharing further memories of him as well. I did have a question submitted directly to me from Jeremy. Have we reached out to Ming-Na? Yes, we have. When the show was starting, she was still winding down from publicity for Mulan, so I'm hopeful to be coming back around to her in the next few months here to see if she'd be willing to come on the show. She is just a magical human being, absolutely amazing person. I'd love to have her on. All right, that's what we have for you for today. I appreciate you tuning in again, and big thanks to Peter Kelamis. We'll be seeing you next weekend. I have not lined up the dashboard on dialthegate.com, but it's going to be another episode of Gary Jones interviewing fans. And Robert C. Cooper will be joining us next weekend. It'll be a pre-recorded interview, and I'll be submitting a video to the internet to the YouTube feed, so you can write your questions to him in comments below. So Robert will be joining us time shifted next weekend. I think I'm interviewing him on Thursday, and the show will be Sunday. My name is David Reed. This is Dial the Gate. See you on the other side.